You ever wonder why some experiences just stick with you? I'm not talking about just memories, but that feeling deep in your gut, or the tension you can't shake from your shoulders, or maybe even a sudden wave of panic that comes out of nowhere. Well, today we're going to dive into the incredible work of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. We're going to explore this mind-blowing idea that trauma isn't just in our heads, it actually gets stuck physically in our bodies.
So let's start with a guy named Tom. To the outside world, this man was a huge success. A decorated Vietnam vet, a top lawyer, the whole deal. But every year on the 4th of July, the fireworks, the summer heat, the crowds, it wasn't a celebration for him. It threw him right back into the jungle. And to cope, he'd lock himself away and just drink, absolutely terrified of the monster he might become around the people he loved most. He said he felt dead inside, like he was living his whole life behind a pane of glass.
And Tom's story, it just forces you to ask this really big question, right? If the event is over and done with, why does it feel like it's still happening right now? Why can't the mind just file it away under past events and move on? This is the central mystery that the body keeps the score really tries to unravel.
Because for millions of people just like Tom, the war, it never actually ends. It doesn't matter if it was combat or abuse or some terrible accident. For them, the past isn't the past at all. It's this active, living thing that keeps disrupting the present. And here we get to the absolute core of the book. Dr. van der Kolk completely reframes what we think of as trauma. It's not the story you tell about what happened. It's the physical reality of it. It's the imprint, the stamp that experience leaves on your brain, on your body, which then keeps acting as if the danger is still here. And you can see the difference so clearly here. A normal memory, well, it's a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You remember your 8th birthday party as a narrative. But a traumatic memory, it gets shattered into these raw sensory pieces. It's not a story anymore. It's the smell of burning rubber, the sound of a raised voice, the feeling of your heart pounding, and you're experiencing it all over again, right now.
There's this unbelievable story about a veteran named Bill. He's in a clinic taking a Rorschach test, you know, the ink blots, and one of those abstract shapes instantly transports him back to Vietnam. He wasn't remembering holding a dying child. He was there. He was sweating, his heart was racing, he was panicking, smelling the same smells, feeling the exact same way. That ink blot wasn't a reminder, it was a trigger that made the past the present.
So, how in the world does this happen? How does the brain get hijacked like this? Well, it all comes down to how trauma literally rewires our most primitive survival systems.
Okay, think of a part of your brain called the amygdala. It's basically your brain's smoke detector. Its one job is to scream fire whenever it senses danger. But what happens after trauma is that smoke detector can get jammed in the on position. Suddenly, it starts seeing smoke and fire everywhere, even when you're perfectly safe.
You see, our brain has two ways to process a potential threat. There's the high road, which goes up to our rational thinking brain. That's the part that can say, hey, relax, that loud noise was just a book falling. But then there's the low road. It's a super fast shortcut straight to the amygdala, the smoke detector. And in trauma, that low road becomes the main highway. The rational brain gets completely bypassed, and we react before we even have a chance to think. But what happens when the threat is so huge you can't fight and you can't run? Well, sometimes the system does something else. It just shuts down. This is called dissociation, or numbing. It's this extreme survival tactic where the mind basically disconnects from the body to protect itself. People will describe it as feeling like they're watching a movie of their own life, or that nothing feels real. And this is not just some vague feeling, it's a neurological fact. When you put someone in a brain scanner and ask them to recall their trauma, the parts of their brain that are responsible for self-awareness, for feeling what's happening inside you, they literally go dark. This is why you can't just talk someone out of a flashback. In that moment, the very part of their brain that connects words to feelings is completely offline. So, if the thinking brain is offline, how do you heal? This leads to a huge paradigm-shifting idea. Healing can't just come from the top down with talking. It has to start from the bottom up by working directly with the body. Now, healing isn't about choosing just one path. It's about combining them. Top-down approaches like talk therapy are absolutely crucial for making sense of the story. Medications can help turn down the volume on that faulty smoke alarm. But the real game changer is adding in these bottom-up, body-based therapies. And then, crucially, rebuilding a sense of safety with other people. So what does bottom-up even look like?
Well, it's things like yoga, which teaches you to notice and tolerate physical sensations instead of being terrified of them. It's techniques like EMDR, which helps the brain finally process those frozen, fragmented memories. It's even things like community theater or dance, which help restore that feeling of safety and rhythm with others. The goal for all of them is the same: to help people feel safe and at home in their own skin again.
But at the end of the day, recovery takes an incredible amount of courage. It really is about ending that war with yourself. It's about finally allowing yourself to know what you know and to feel what you feel. Because trying to suppress it, to keep it secret, that just keeps you on high alert and it keeps that war going inside your own body. And it's so important to understand this stuff because this isn't an issue for a small group of people. This isn't just about soldiers. Trauma is like this hidden epidemic that's just woven into the very fabric of our society. Just look at these numbers. They're staggering. The CDC did this massive study and found that for millions of us, childhood wasn't safe. It was a minefield. 1 in 5 Americans was sexually molested. 1 in 4 was beaten by a parent. 1 in 4 grew up with alcoholic relatives. This is not a niche problem. This is a massive public health crisis.
And get this, for every single soldier serving in a war zone overseas, there are 10 children endangered in their own homes here. The very place that's supposed to be a sanctuary is often the scariest place of all.
And this all brings us back to a fundamental biological truth. Healing from this kind of widespread trauma, it can't happen alone. Our brains are literally wired for connection. Feeling safe with other people isn't a nice to have, it's a biological need. Rebuilding that sense of community, of belonging, is the bedrock of any real recovery, for individuals and for all of us.
So, what Dr. van der Kolk's work really leaves us with is both a huge challenge and a message of incredible hope. We understand the science now. We have a roadmap for how to help people heal. We know that trauma is a fact of life, but it absolutely does not have to be a life sentence. We have the knowledge. The choice is ours to actually act on it. The only real question left is, will we?